In this tutorial, we're going to go through and optimize and delete the back-facing polygons. Optimization is the process of getting rid of all the unneeded polygons to reduce the polygon count of our model to as little as possible. And the fewer polygons there are, the faster it's going to run when in-game. So we're going to start off by deleting our two reference files by selecting and pressing delete. And then we're going to start optimization on this main body section. So I'm just going to right click, hide on selected. I'm going to go under our modify panel, right click on symmetry and just hit collapse all and press yes to the dialog which pops up. Then just going to go into the vertex tool and target world. I'm just going to go around the whole model like so and get rid of all the unneeded polygons. Down the seam there's a whole line of unwanted polygons. We made sure that through the way we were actually modelling the model that there would be a seam, a flat surface that ran around the whole of the weapon, specifically for us to optimize later. A bit of a slow and boring process this, and I hope you enjoy watching it as much as I've enjoyed doing it. That was a bit of sarcasm there, because it's got to be bloody boring watching this. Optimize these straight up. So if you remember that at the end of the last tutorial we had a look at our poly count, and it was hanging in at about 1,852, was it? Somewhere around there. So we're going to try and reduce that as much as possible without compromising the shape of our gun. Pull this out a tiny touch, get a little more interesting. There we go. Optimize a few around here as well. And just get rid of these. As well. Just going to right click and unhide all. And I'm going to select the top slide, the trigger and the clip. And I'm going to right click and hide unselected. And same again, just follow the seam around and remove any verts, polygons or edges that just aren't changing the overall shape of your gun. And again, there's a lot likely to be down the seam where you had the symmetry modifier on. As you do optimize, you're going to find, especially in edible poly, that there's going to be little errors where the mesh will sort of fold over itself, things like that. And that is due to, when you do optimize and get rid of polygons, etc., it's going to retriangulate sections of your models, i.e. rearrange the triangles. And sometimes that creates little errors with the mesh sort of folding in on itself. But all you need to do is just go into your edit triangle tools or turn triangle tools and just turn them until they're in the correct positions, not making a mess of your model. All the way around. So here's an example of the triangles making a mess, so that's just overlapping slightly. It's going to go into my edge tool, select turn, I'm going to click on that edge, and that has fixed that problem. Target weld this little guy. Next little section we need to optimise is these around our little grips. Select target weld. In fact, I'm going to try something. I've never ever done this before, so it's likely to make a big mess. It's free map vertex. Ooh. No, don't worry. I was seeing if we could select all of these edges and then use the snap tool to make it perfectly overlay these edges. And then rather than having to go for every single vert individually, we would have just been able to select it all and hit weld rather than target welding, which of course probably, excuse me, would save a nice lot of time, but it didn't work and I wasted time instead. And let's put another couple of megs on top of this video which you had to download. And just need to do, so what I'm going to use is that tool that I used in the past for selecting edges, which is the window/crossing tool. So basically the only edges we're going to select are the ones that are 100% in our selection area. So those and those, and I'm going to turn this tool off, holding down Alt, I can deselect. I'm just going to go along. I'm not sure if that was any quicker than doing it manually actually. Yeah, select quite a lot of crap at the same time. So now I've selected my edge, I'm just going to hit backspace. Ooh, didn't like that much. Got to deselect those edges too. Backspace. And lastly, just select these stray verts that is left behind. Excuse me. And that's going to have mocked up quite a bit of our triangulation. So we're going to have to go through and move some of our triangles about. Quite a mess now. I'm just going to go through and flip a few of these to go the opposite direction. And might mock up quite a bit on the old smoothing groups as we go on a bit later. we've just got a trigger. Rather than just having to right click and collapse, you can also just right click, convert to editable poly, and that will automatically collapse your mesh and target world down the middle. So we can go through target world, target world, target world. And lastly, I think we've just got to do the clip. Again, target world all the mess down the seam. Alright. Remove a few of these edges as well, as it will make our UV map look a little smarter towards the end. Same with some of these stray edges. Right, just going to unhide all. Alright, next thing we want to do is start removing some of the back facing. The idea of remove back facing is that when you're looking at the gun from your first person angle, you can only really see half the gun. All the polygons here and all the polygons around the back here you can't see, and they're just basically a waste on resources, and they don't need to be there. And that is of course quite dependent on what you do with the animations. If your animations are all whoa whoa crazy, then those polygons may well be seen. But for this video I'm going to try and keep the animations a little more simple than that, mainly so I can show you this deletion of back facing. So what the idea is we're going to select, I'll put that on the select tool, all of these edges and faces that aren't going to be seen by the player, because for all they know they are still there, alive and kicking. And a lot of these edges down the front as well. I'm not going to go too over the top to say, until you know exactly what your animations are, deleting back faces can be a little bit risky, because if you do a bit of a crazy animation, then you're going to see these ginormous holes in your mesh. In fact, I'm going to keep these here, because I think on the reload it'll probably come over a wee bit. I'll keep this way. I don't trust myself. I'm going to delete all these off the bottom here. There we go. Ignore back facing. Just going to delete those three edges there. And that's about it for now. And we're going to go to our slide. I'm just going to unhide all. Oh, sorry, hide unselected. And do the same again on the back here. Oh, on the top slide. And do select. Just start going through, deleting everything that you don't think you're going to need. Remove all of that. Alright, even some which you think you may see, such as these, when you're in that first person view, you're not going to see them at all, so they can get rid of. Front of the sight here, little section in there, all be removed. You can also remove these around here. Slight error just there. I'm not going to go too over the top because, to say, I'm always very scared. This deleting of backfacing affects your whole pipeline. So, say if you do come to the animation process and realise that it is buggered up, you add in faces, meaning, correcting the errors and adding new faces again. It's going to mean you're going to have to redo your UV unwrap, which might mean you need to redo your texture, and then you're going to have to redo your rigging, and then you're going to have to redo this and redo that and redo this. So be very, very careful, because it's not fun having to redo stuff. Not fun at all. Just delete a few on the trigger here. Nice. It's the sport of extreme optimizing. Alright. Quick peep at this. Alright. To say, you can always delete some off clip as well. But I'm not going to. I think that will just about do it. And the last thing you need to have a quick peep at is smoothing groups. And smoothing groups is what will take away all these flat-faced look and smooth out the model, surprisingly. So we're just going to start selecting all the areas that you want in the same smoothing group, and just hit smoothing group. I'm under the polygon tool, and once I've made my selection, I scroll down to polygon properties, and you have a number, this big old grid of numbers, which all work as different smoothing groups. And it's just a case of going through, making selections, and hitting smooth. So we're going to go around here. Basically, everything, or the edges where two smoothing groups meet, will give a sharp line going across a sharp edge, which can be very handy for emphasizing the shape and forms that you've created in your models. But if two smoothing groups aren't touching, you're quite okay using the same smoothing group over and over again. So I've already used number 1 on that little inside section, but I'm going to use one again for everything I've just selected. I'm also going to put one along here. I mean, you shouldn't really need more than about 4 different smoothing groups, because they can be reused over and over again. But you can see a lot sort of around here, you've got a lot of smoothing issues, and that is because there's too many edges going to vert. I don't know, generally you don't really want more than about 4 edges meeting at one vert. But with this sort of weapon modelling, you end up with a lot of the time a lot of edges on individual verts, and yeah, especially on these top sections up here. Where's my little turn tool? See, around here there's absolutely hundreds of the things, but generally, because it's a flat surface, it doesn't really show too much. Main problem is if you're doing nice portfolio renders, where you want some renders of your wireframe on a blank coloured mesh. Because they're likely to show up quite a lot. But from my experience, when you actually plonk a texture on top of your model, I've just selected this area and put that to smoothing group 2. I'm going to put that to smoothing group 3. So what you'll see is there's these sharp edges along here, as that's smoothing group 2 and that's smoothing group 1 all along here. If you try and force smoothing where it's not meant to be smoothing, it will not like it too much and look a little funny, like around here. So I'm just going to put that back to smoothing group 3. Carry on working my way around. Okay, 3. Try turning some edges to fix those smoothing problems. Just missed a few down the back here. I think that's it for the main weapon area. Just hide that. Get our smoothing groups done on the clip here. Selecting both sides and just selecting smoothing group 1. Trigger. Select these vertical polygons down the front. They can be smoothing group 1 as well. No, we don't want this big flat section as 1. Be number 2. And down the back here can be number 1 as well. Just want to do these little curvy sections around here. Smoothing group 1. You just want to go through and do the slide as well. I mean, not everything needs a smoothing group. A lot of the time I'll select all, just hit clear all smoothing groups and go through and just do them manually. Say a lot of stuff is generally smooth grouped as soon as you create your geometry, but it's not very good most of the time, and you always have to go in and have a good play around with it to get it how you want. I'm going to want to, just going to select that polygon. I'm going to zoom in with that little button there to that polygon. I'm going to select this, all the inside polygons, the ones that are slightly low down. Put you as 3, and then we also want a sharp edge between that row of polygons that I just put the smoothing group on and this slightly higher one. So you can go 4, say 3 and 4, because there's a 2 different smoothing groups. We get that nice sharp edge. And last but not least, I think we just want this sort of curve here, the main body of the gun. Smoothing group 2, I think. I still see a few little smoothing groups to do. Luckily this doesn't take too long to do, but again it's another boring job which needs to be done. But it's worth it in the end, so take your time over it as much as you can. Clear all, spin group 1. Spin group 1. I reckon we could probably delete that polygon there. Actually, I'm not going to delete it, I'm going to leave it. Right, I'm just going to unhide all. As you can see, the smoothing groups are pretty much done. There are a few twiddly errors here and there, which you're just going to have to go through with the turn tool and fix. But I don't know, I don't really think I'm going to bother. Because I could sit and play with it all day. So yeah, to fix any little errors you've got, you just want to use the turn tool under the edge selection and just turn edges until your errors disappear. Say we reckoned it was about, oh actually, what we need to do is just attach everything into one object. So I select my main body of the gun and I'm just going to go through and click on the trigger, slides, all the little add-ons that we've done, and we're just going to make it all one object. Just going to move it about quickly to make sure everything is one object, and then attach anything that isn't moving with the gun. So that's all one object now, made up of lots of different elements. We then need to select the gun and right click on scale to make sure that everything's scaled to 100, which it isn't. To fix that, we're going to create a piece of geometry. I'm going to create a teapot, which has a scale of 100, 100, 100. We're then going to convert this into an editable poly, use the attach tool to attach our gun, and we're then going to select our teapot and just delete it. Our gun will now have the pivot of the teapot, but we just want to move that. So we're just going to select pivot under the hierarchy tool, isn't it? Yeah, hierarchy. Effect pivot only, center to object. I'm just going to put it on the move tool. I'm just going to make sure it's down the seam. Deselect, and now when we right click on our scale again, you can see it's 100 all the way around. And lastly, we're just going to check at our polygon count once more to see how many we were able to remove. Let's go polygon counter, 1,200. So we've removed about 600 there, I would say, which is pretty good going. I may have a bit of a clean up of this before the next tutorial, but it won't be anything that I haven't shown you. It'll just be moving some edges just to clean her up a little bit, and we'll start working on unwrapping.